Brand is going to get as big and go as far as Caitlin Clark takes it. And I don't think Kelly Krauskopf understands that. And the latest video that is surfacing, floating around, being consumed by Fever fans across the globe, because this is an international superstar they have on their hands. This may have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
What happens when the brightest star in your league suddenly becomes the center of a storm? Not because of what she did, but because of what her own team didn't do. The Indiana Fever have a generational talent in Caitlin Clark. But instead of riding her momentum, leadership's missteps have set off a chain reaction of controversy, division, and distrust. And the fallout is spreading beyond the locker room, spilling into league politics, media debates, and even questions about the WNBA's future. It started with one press conference, one question about the future of the franchise. Fever President Kelly Krauskopf compared her vision for the team to Apple, framing the Fever as a brand that will last decades. She called Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston foundational pieces, a compliment on paper, but a dagger in practice.
Kelly Krauskopf, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you were perfectly fine when Fever fans were bending over, kissing your ass, applauding your decisions, you better stand here and take it when Fever fans are pissed off, upset, and are voicing their displeasures. If our voice mattered that much then, you best believe it matters that much now.
Fans didn't hear foundational, they heard replaceable. They heard that Clark, the rookie responsible for sellout crowds and a global spotlight, was just another cog in a long-term plan. Within hours, social media erupted. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Hashtags calling for Krauskopf's resignation trended on X. Fans accused the front office of failing to understand what they had. Then Krauskopf's X account disappeared. No explanation, no clarification. And in the absence of answers, suspicion grew. Was this avoidance? Was the team ignoring its own fan base? Caitlin Clark isn't just a good rookie, she's a phenomenon. Since her debut, the Fever's home games have sold out at a rate the WNBA has never seen. Her jersey, one of the fastest selling in league history. National broadcasts featuring the Fever have pulled in record ratings, with analysts estimating she's responsible for a quarter of the league's revenue growth this season. Before Clark, the Fever were a rebuilding team with a loyal but limited following. After Clark, they're one of the most valuable franchises in the league. Sponsorship deals are pouring in, merchandise is flying off shelves, and the team's social media engagement has quadrupled. And yet, instead of embracing Clark as the franchise's beating heart, the front office doubled down on a corporate branding strategy. To many, it felt like they were playing the long game at the expense of the here and now. That tension, the boardroom vision versus the undeniable reality of Clark's stardom, is where the real fracture began.
Want to sustain the growth and the interest level in the franchise. I mean, this is about the Indiana Fever. Yes, we have a foundational player in Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and we're going to continue to add to that. But I want this team to be the leader in the country, and a brand, an enduring brand, like Apple or something. I mean, we have a real opportunity.
Clark's influence is undeniable, but so is her vulnerability. Night after night, she's targeted with aggressive defense that goes far beyond typical rookie treatment. Hard fouls, shoulder checks, blindsides, some so blatant that fans are left stunned when referees swallow their whistles. The most talked about moment? May 24th against the New York Liberty. Natasha Cloud rammed into Clark. No foul, no review, just a shrug from officials. It wasn't an isolated case. The pattern repeated across multiple games, leaving fans and analysts questioning whether the league was doing enough to protect its biggest asset. And it's not just fans noticing. National broadcasters have begun calling out the inconsistency live on air. Opposing coaches have acknowledged the pressure Clark faces. Even her teammates like Sophie Cunningham have gone public, saying the lack of protection is unacceptable. For the WNBA, it's a dangerous image problem. If they can't protect their stars, how can they expect to grow the game? The turning point came on Cunningham's own podcast, Show Me Something. With raw honesty, she blasted the organization for failing to back Clark publicly. She didn't just hint, she spelled it out. Disrespect for Clark was coming from inside the house. Cunningham described moments where she had to physically step in to protect her teammate. She accused leadership of prioritizing PR spin over real support. And she made it clear, the locker room wasn't united. Fans heard this and realized the crisis wasn't just about a bad analogy or a deleted social media account. It was about culture. It was about whether the Fever valued their superstar enough to fight for her, both on the court and behind the scenes. This controversy has grown so large, it's no longer just a sports story. Stephen A. Smith went on national television warning the WNBA that if they didn't handle this right, political and legal scrutiny could follow. The conversation has shifted from bad PR to organizational liability. At the same time, Clark has used her platform to push for broader change. She's become a leading voice for higher WNBA salaries, better working conditions, and player safety reforms. Even while battling injuries, she's front and center in major ad campaigns, symbolizing the modern era of women's basketball, where star players are both athletes and global brands. But here's the risk. When your brightest star is also your loudest reformer, failing to support her doesn't just hurt your image, it risks the future of the league. The Fever are at a crossroads. They can keep pretending this is a minor misunderstanding, or they can face reality. Caitlin Clark is the brand. Protecting her is protecting the team. Fans want to see leadership stand beside her, both physically and publicly. They want to know the hard fouls will be addressed, that officiating will be consistent, and that the league values its stars enough to keep them safe. If the Fever embrace that, they have a chance to build something lasting, not just a brand like Apple, but a dynasty built on the trust and loyalty of their fans. If they don't, they risk alienating Clark, losing the very person who put them back on the map, and watching the momentum they've built vanish overnight. The Caitlin Clark saga isn't just about one player, one team, or one bad comment. It's a test of whether the WNBA is ready to adapt to a new reality, one where players aren't just part of the brand, they are the brand. The next moves the Fever make will decide more than their record this season. They'll decide whether Caitlin Clark's story becomes the league's proudest success or its most painful cautionary tale.
This isn't the NFL. This is the WNBA. A star is going to take the Fever where the Fever want to go. And that star is Caitlin Clark. Kelly, you're talking about being a leading brand. You're talking about sustaining growth, sustaining the interest level in the franchise. You know how that happens? Is if Caitlin Clark stays in Indiana, is if Caitlin Clark is participating in an entertaining and exciting brand of basketball that doesn't take away and diminish her skill sets, that doesn't turn off fans that have been following her for the last 3 to 5 years.
What happens when your franchise finally lands the kind of player every team dreams about? And then somehow, instead of celebrating her, you alienate her. The Indiana Fever have Caitlin Clark, the rookie already being called the most important player in women's basketball in decades. But instead of riding her star power into a new golden era, the team has stumbled into a public relations disaster, a fractured locker room, and a league-wide debate about how stars should be treated. And here's the shocking part. This wasn't triggered by a scandal or a loss or a bad game. It all started with a single comment from the team's president. One comment that fans say showed exactly how disconnected leadership is from reality. One comment that turned simmering tensions into a full-blown crisis. 1. The Apple comment that lit the match. On the surface, it sounded harmless. Fever President Kelly Krauskopf was asked about the team's future during a press conference. She smiled, leaned into the microphone, and said she wanted to build a franchise like Apple. Strong, lasting, instantly recognizable. She called Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston foundational pieces in that vision. But here's the problem. When your rookie is the most talked about athlete in the league, the face of sold-out arenas, and the reason your team is suddenly relevant again, comparing her to a component in a corporate analogy doesn't exactly scream, "We value you." Fans didn't hear Apple. They heard, "You're just part of the machine." They heard the team matters more than the player. And that sentiment hit like a thunderclap. Within hours, Fever fans were flooding social media with criticism. "How can you call her foundational and still make her sound replaceable?" one post read. Another went viral. "Clark isn't a cog in your machine. She is the machine." And then Krauskopf's X account disappeared. Poof, gone. No clarification, no apology, no explanation, just digital silence. And in the world of sports PR, silence can be louder than words. The missing account only fueled speculation. Was she hiding from backlash? Was the front office scrambling behind the scenes? Or the theory some fans whispered, was leadership doubling down and refusing to walk back the statement? What should have been a routine press conference had become a full-blown credibility crisis. The Caitlin Clark effect, numbers don't lie. To understand why this blew up so quickly, you have to grasp just how much Caitlin Clark has changed the game. This isn't hype, it's math. Since Clark joined the Fever, home games have sold out at rates the WNBA has never seen. Her jersey sold out nationwide within hours of its release multiple times. National broadcasts featuring the Fever have smashed ratings records. Merchandise sales for the Fever are up by triple digits. Economists who follow sports branding estimate Clark's presence has boosted the WNBA's overall market value by hundreds of millions. ESPN analysts have openly said that she might be responsible for the biggest one-season revenue jump in league history. And it's not just numbers. The vibe has changed. Celebrities are courtside at Fever games. Social media is buzzing with WNBA highlights in a way that feels different. And nearly every headline about the Fever win or lose features Clark's name first. So when fans heard Krauskopf talk about Apple, it felt like leadership was treating this once-in-a-generation star as just another piece of the plan. The disconnect between the boardroom's branding strategy and the reality of Clark's influence was impossible to ignore. 3. Taking hits, on the court and off. If Clark's impact off the court is massive, her challenges on the court are just as dramatic. From her first games in the league, defenders have been physical with her, sometimes crossing the line into dangerous territory. May 24th against the New York Liberty became the moment everyone pointed to. Natasha Cloud rammed Clark during a drive. No foul, no replay, no warning. Just play on. It wasn't a one-off. Over the next few weeks, fans and analysts began cataloging similar plays. Chashi, hip checks that sent her sprawling. Hard screens that seemed designed to hurt more than stop a play. Contact after the whistle that went uncalled. Commentators like Doris Burke and Chinia Gwumike began hinting that something wasn't right. Social media accounts started compiling highlight reels of the uncalled hits. And the narrative took shape. The WNBA wasn't protecting its most marketable player. The optics were terrible. Imagine if the NBA allowed LeBron James or Steph Curry to get knocked around without calls. The league knows stars bring in fans, so why wasn't the WNBA stepping in for Clark? 4. Sophie Cunningham breaks the silence. If there was any doubt about internal tensions, Sophie Cunningham erased it. On her podcast, Show Me Something, she let loose. She didn't dance around the topic. She said the lack of respect for Clark was coming from inside the organization. She admitted she'd stepped in physically to defend Clark from on-court cheap shots. And she accused leadership of caring more about image control than actually backing their star player. Her words were a gut punch. When you've got someone who's changing the game, you protect her. You don't leave her hanging out there, and you definitely don't make her feel like she's just another name on the roster. Fans took Cunningham's side instantly. For many, it confirmed what they feared. This wasn't just a PR misstep, it was a culture problem. Pressure beyond basketball. The controversy had officially spilled out of the sports world and into mainstream media. Stephen A. Smith went on air warning that if the WNBA didn't handle this, politics will. He suggested the league could face public hearings or even government scrutiny over workplace safety and gender equity. Clark herself, despite nursing injuries, kept playing and kept talking. She began speaking more openly about the need for higher player salaries, better facilities, and fair officiating. Her endorsements only amplified her voice. Every brand campaign made her platform bigger. That dual role, superstar athlete and reform advocate, put the Fever in an even trickier spot. If they alienate her, they risk alienating fans, sponsors, and the entire public conversation around women's sports. The Fever now face a decision with long-term consequences. Do they treat Caitlin Clark like the cornerstone she clearly is? Or do they keep sticking to a no single player is bigger than the brand philosophy and hope the storm passes? The danger in the second path is obvious. Lose Clark, lose your fan base, fail to protect her, and the league's image takes a hit it can't afford. Let the locker room fracture further, and the season collapses. The safer and smarter play is to publicly back Clark, address officiating concerns, and show that the Fever are willing to build around their star now, not in some vague, distant future. Conclusion. This isn't just about one rookie or one bad comment. It's a test of whether the WNBA is ready to embrace the era it's entering, one where the players are the brand. If the Fever adapt, Caitlin Clark could be the face that lifts the league to heights it's never seen. If they don't, she could become the cautionary tale that haunts them for decades. Either way, the next move is theirs, and the clock is ticking.